All right, this is Scare Talk. I am Danny, and I am here with Christmas Katrina.
That's the one.
Yeah. And we've got Jolly Joel.
Hey guys, what's up? Not chapter 2, Katrina.
So we're talking about Christmas stuff today, which is a little odd because it's the summer still, but we have a special guest. And he has a Christmas-themed film coming out pretty soon. He's also on YouTube. You might have heard of him. This is Dave McRae.
Hopefully, people, what they've heard is good, because you never know. Putting yourself out there on YouTube, sometimes people get their knickers in a twist, and over opinions, on movies, and just saying, you guys know what that's like. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course. So Dave was on with us a few years back, our early days of the podcast.
That's it.
He was talking about his short film, It's Me, Billy, which was a unofficial sequel to Black Christmas.
Correct.
So we talked about that, and we had an extensive conversation. And now he's back with It's Me, Billy, Chapter 2. The trailer just dropped, and we want to talk with him about that and watch the trailer together. But first, Dave, if you could kind of tell us about yourself for anybody who doesn't know.
Yeah, well, it's always funny talking about yourself. So I am on YouTube, as that's sort of my hobby, I guess, if you will. Most people would probably know me from my YouTube channel, where I jumped on in, I think, 2016, 2017, somewhere around there, with the announcement of the new Halloween movies from Blumhouse. And I'm a big Halloween fan. My favorite horror movie is Halloween. And so I jumped on there just to kind of have an outlet to get it out from here. I wasn't planning to gain a following or anything like that. But to make a long story short, the rest is history. And I did gain a following, and people seem to care what I had to say. And so now I don't just talk about Halloween, although that is a huge focus of the channel. Of course, right now, there's really not anything Halloween to talk about. But I do talk, horror movies and anything. I'm not a movie reviewer. I mean, I will review a movie from time to time on the channel, like the Halloween movies. But I'm not a movie reviewer. I'm more of like talk radio, punditry, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? You tune in to listen to what I have to say, and whether or not you agree with me that day or not. So and that's sort of the YouTube thing. Now, professionally, I'm a full-time professional voice actor. That's my day-to-day job. I've worked in the entertainment business for 23 years, and I've been full-time voice actor since 2006. So that's 18 years, I guess, now. So I've done everything from radio and television commercials to network promos, movie and game trailers, animation, narration, you name it, I've done it. You probably heard my voice. But obviously would not have known it because you don't see my face. And I'm also a filmmaker as well. And really sort of my experience in the entertainment business is really on the voiceover side of things. But my first love is film and filmmaking. And I went to school for film, and I studied it. And I've always wanted to sort of, do it full, like how I get paid to do voiceover. I'd love to get paid to make movies.
Sure.
And so, so I'm not getting paid to make movies yet. But hopefully that is coming down the pipe very soon. So in a nutshell, that's sort of who I am. You can Google me, and I'm on there as well. So,
so I like how you said not getting paid yet.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm trying to be optimistic here.
Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Joel.
Sorry, I was gonna. What made you choose a Black Christmas like spinoff kind of thing? Of all the horror franchises out there, what about Black Christmas kind of like spoke to you? Kind of.
It's a great question. So, so in 2019, I had just turned 40. And like I said, when you turn 40, you're not old, but you're not young, and you're kind of in that range where it's like, well, if I'm going to do this, I better do it now. I mean, there's kids that are 25 making Hollywood movies that I can go see in the movie theater. So it's like, you know. But I didn't want to bite off more than I can chew. Again, I spent 23 years in the entertainment business. But as a filmmaker, and I've worked on set before, and I made some short films, some little Halloween shorts, which would not be anything which I would not consider professional, but just, out there having fun, keep the creative juices flowing. And I have worked on professional sets before in a variety of capacities, but I thought, I really want to make a go at this as a director, as a writer, as a producer on a professional level. But I didn't want to bite off more than I could chew. And so one evening I was watching the original Black Christmas. I'm Canadian from Toronto, by the way, for your viewers. I haven't said oot and a boot yet, but I'm just saying that's who I am. We really don't say that, but at least not like that. Oot and a boot. A boot like your foot, your shoe. That's the American pop culture satire for you. But I digress. So yeah, I didn't want to bite off more than I could chew. And one evening I was watching Black Christmas, which of course is a Canadian movie shot here in Toronto, one of the most influential horror films of all time, and one of the first of its kind. And it's Canadian. And that's pretty fucking cool. Oh, can I swear in here? I can swear in here, right?
Yeah.
Swear? That's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try to keep it to a minimum. So I thought, Black Christmas has one of the greatest endings in all of horror. It's ambiguous, it's ominous, it's eerie. It certainly does not need a sequel. But I thought, well, what if there was something we could do with Black Christmas, rope in sort of the Canadian angle to it? We're Canadian filmmakers from Toronto. It's a Canadian movie shot in Toronto. There's a sort of a romanticism there. The 50th anniversary was coming up in the next 5 years from that point in 2019. And I thought maybe there's something we can do with Black Christmas. And it's a fan film, yes, but I knew immediately, it would have to be a fan film, designated as a fan film, because we don't own the intellectual property. But I knew that the stigma that surrounds fan films, which is in your backyard with your friends on your dad's camcorder, with poor audio, poor lighting, and poor acting, is not what this was going to be. I wanted to make it a professional film through and through from top to bottom. It just happens to be a fan film in name only, so to speak. So that was always in my head, always my goal. I didn't want to touch Halloween because there's a Halloween fan film for every grain of sand. I didn't want to touch A Nightmare on Elm Street because Cecil Laird, of course, of the Horror Show YouTube channel, was doing that. He cast me as Freddy in that. So obviously I had to, I was like, well, he's got that locked up. Vincent DeSanti of Womp Stomp Films has got Friday the 13th locked up in terms of really making it that professional, indie quality film that you would see on Netflix or Prime. You know what I mean? And so, so I didn't want to touch that. And so we didn't go for the low hanging fruit. We went for Black Christmas, which is not low hanging at all. It's very niche. It never spawned a franchise. It had 2 remakes. Nobody liked them. The 06 one is getting a little more favor now because of the 19 film, but, so that really was sort of the catalyst. Was we wanted to really step into the world. My friend Bruce, who co-wrote, co-directed, and co-produced both movies with me, works in the business as well, and of course he's got a lot of connections there as well. And I said to him, let's utilize our connections to really now start to make real movies, not just fun movies we're making on our iPhones. Real stuff, with a full crew shooting on cinematic grade cameras with, equipment and the whole gamut, the whole thing. We can get into that later, but the whole thing. So, so Joel, that really was the catalyst. Was just, we wanted to do something on a professional level, not bite off more than we can chew. As Canadians from Toronto, what better than, or what movie is better than Black Christmas at the end of the day?
Yeah, so. Absolutely. So It's Me, Billy, Chapter 1 came out in 2021.
21.
Correct.
Came out in May?
May 28th. Yep.
Okay.
And the perfect time for Christmas. That's right.
Yeah. It is on YouTube. So if anybody hasn't seen it, I would recommend watching Black Christmas, the original, if you have not seen that. But definitely go check out the YouTube It's Me, Billy, Chapter 1.
You just type in It's Me, Billy. It's the first thing that pops up.
Yeah. It's very well made.
Yeah.
It's horror. It is full on horror. and it doesn't take long to get to it. So, just enjoy. And so we're going to talk about It's Me, Billy, Chapter 1 a little bit. So if you haven't seen it, then make sure to go watch it before you continue to listen.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Exactly. So in It's Me, Billy, Chapter 1, we have Sam and a couple of her friends.
Correct.
Now, Sam is the granddaughter of Jess Bradford.
Correct.
Okay. And Jess Bradford is the final girl of the original Black Christmas.
Correct.
And her boyfriend at the time in Black Christmas was killed and was assumed to be the killer in that movie.
Yes. I think you could make an argument for that. Yeah.
And at the end of Black Christmas, we can assume that Billy is still there. So
he's still there.
Attic. Yeah. Phone rings, all that at the end. So with It's Me, Billy, we have Sam going. They won't let her and her friends go into the sorority house, the original sorority house. She wanted to visit. And it's Christmas Eve. They end up spending the night at her grandma's house. So Jess Bradford's
that's right. Big mansion in the country. That's right.
Yeah, which is an amazing home to be able to film at.
Yeah,
absolutely. Awesome. It's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, really, really cool. So they're there hanging out, talking about old times as they were kids and, all that. And then talking about her grandma and, then they go to sleep and Billy kind of starts to show up, kills them.
Well, they get a phone call first.
Yeah, they get a phone call.
That's the creepy phone call.
You got to have the phone calls.
Yeah, you have to. I remember we did the Black Christmas movies in, I think, 2021. I think roughly around then, that time. And that was the first time I'd seen the original. And like those phone calls, like they were some of the creepiest things I've like to this day I've heard in horror. Yeah. Like it's just it definitely helped like make that movie. And so you gotta have the phone calls and
I agree.
And you do the voices.
Yeah.
I do. Yes, I do. I am the voice of Billy on the phone.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty crazy, guys. I'm pretty crazy.
So there's no lack of creepiness in this in It's Me, Billy. So we got the phone calls. As time goes on, they start to get killed off one by one. Other than Sam. Sam is surviving. There's all kinds of callbacks to Black Christmas too, which was really cool. The phone in the attic, the way Billy talks, the eye thing, all that really cool. The unicorn was used. So I'm just kind of going through this because we want to talk about It's Me, Billy too.
For sure. Yeah, no, I get it. No, it's good. I'm good.
Okay. Then you get Mrs. Crane, who is the neighbor of, the old neighbor of Jess Bradford. And turns out, we find out toward the end, that she is actually Agnes.
Correct.
Billy's sister, we believe.
Correct.
To be. And then it ends, but then there's a little couple of credits, and then we go back to Sam in this like basement type of place. And then she says, "Grandma," and then it's over. So it's like, wait
a minute.
Grandma's there? What? She was dead. Okay.
Yeah.
So we were all on a cliffhanger. We talked with you about it. You had said that it was always planned to be a 2-part film.
Correct.
And you had the idea you and Bruce had the idea for the second chapter, but you hadn't, had it funded and hadn't, written.
Yeah, it hadn't been fleshed out yet. That's right.
Right. So then after Chapter 1 came out, how long did it take you guys to get the next one written and all that stuff?
Well, released in May 2021, we wanted to let the film breathe for a bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before we jumped right into it.
Mhm.
We also, thanks to It's Me Billy Chapter 1, we were in talks. We were speaking to a studio executive from a studio you would know. I will leave it nameless for now because that door's still open, but there's nothing happening yet because we've shifted focus to Billy 2, but the door's still open. It's kind of, there
Nice.
could be
Okay.
something that may happen there, but maybe not either. So I don't want to put any names out there and set
Mhm.
unrealistic expectations.
Sure.
But it was something, but because of the quality of the first chapter, it impressed this individual who thought they were just taken back by, like, wait, you shot this for $60,000. It looks like it was shot for, for $3 million. I mean, so
Mhm.
what's your
Mhm.
process here? Like, tell me, you know what I mean? And so that was really cool. And we were working on, he asked if we had any ideas, and we were working on a treatment as well with an idea. So that took up a lot of time. We worked that over the summer.
yeah.
So we were shifting focus to an original piece potentially. We still have that treatment. We submitted that treatment. They liked that treatment. They liked how it was dripping with mood and atmosphere and all that kind of stuff that I love. They had some notes, some studio notes, some things that maybe they'd want to see, or it's like a back and forth. You go back and forth and
Yeah.
back and forth. So the door is still open. We've decided to what we decided to do was to shift focus at that point, and they were okay with it. Like, they totally understood, to Billy
Mhm.
2, to finish that off so we could have a complete story, and only to bolster our portfolio further.
Sure. Yeah.
But anyway, so I digress. But so for the first, I'd say, year and a bit, we were heavily focused on a couple other projects that we were maybe, and even if nothing came to fruition at that moment, it's always good to have stuff in your belt, because when somebody sees something they love that you've done, they're going to say, "This is amazing. This is great. What else you got?" Right? That's what they're going to say. And if you don't have anything and you're like, "No, that's it. That's all I got. That's it."
Yeah.
I mean, I could have something if you give me. No. They want to know now. They want to know,
Yeah.
what can you. It's like that elevator pitch, right? You don't have a lot of time, and what do you have? What do you got now? And so we did focus some time on sort of honing those. In particular, one treatment that we were very excited about, a horror film as well, just dripping with. I love mood and atmosphere. So it was very palpable. But so that's what we were focused on. And then in the summer of 2022, I had said to Bruce, and he agreed. I said, why don't we see if we can finish the story, chapter 2, bolster our portfolio even further. So we not only do we have 2 movies, like technically it's one movie with 2 separate parts for all intents and purposes. But they are 2 separate films at the same time as well. And so I said, let's have, so we have 2 finished pieces. We also have a finished narrative piece when you look at it as a whole, and that's good for us, because when you were, if you were to butt the 2 movies together, you would have a feature, because the first movie is about 38 minutes without credits. This new one is probably going to be about 41 minutes without credits. So you put those 2 together with credits, you're probably looking at about 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So, which is pretty cool. So we just wanted to bolster our portfolio further, gain more experience at the professional level on the filmmaking side of the entertainment business, and working with other professionals who've been doing their jobs a lot longer than we have our jobs on set, and just kind of gain more experience that way. And so in the fall, in September, I believe it was after Labor Day weekend of September 2022, that's when we made the announcement that we have moved into development on chapter 2, and then we started writing the script.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
All right, cool. So then I know there was, you were starting to write the script, and then you guys were gonna start filming, and then there was a delay. You guys had to kind of push filming back a little bit. Was that the writers?
Yeah.
strike
So there was
Great.
so there was never a delay in filming. We always planned to shoot. Okay, so we made the announcement that we had entered into development on chapter 2 in September of 2022. Then by about January, February, somewhere in and around there, we had made the announcement that we were going to be launching our Indiegogo campaign for chapter 2 on May 1st, 2023. And in and around that time, we also had announced that the script was done. I mean, it was still going through a bit of polishing, but it had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it was essentially done. And then Bruce and I were working on behind the scenes. We were working on trying to get Olivia Hussey. And that was sort of, our main focus at that point. And we didn't want to make any announcements on that until we knew we had her. And we did have her, but unfortunately she had to back out of the project, unfortunately, 12 days before we were going to go to camera.
Wow.
So it was unfortunate and not the kind of thing you need to do or want to do, but it really put us as producers to the test, because this kind of thing does happen in show business. This kind of actors come, they drop out for whatever reason, it does happen. And so it really put our producing skills to the test. What is the PR spin? How are we going to not spin? I mean, we're going to tell the truth, but how do we phrase it? How do we still, allow people to have confidence in us and not refund their money? Because we raised the production budget about 140,000 Canadian dollars, which is about 110,000 US dollars in and around there, because not just because Olivia's name was attached, but that was a big part of it. Sure. And she had signed, the LOI, which is a letter of intent, which basically says that I give you permission to use my name and my likeness and my images and all that for the purposes of raising money. It happens all the time in indie filmmaking. And then if you raise the money, I will be in your movie. This is what the letter says, right? And so, but unfortunately, to your point, we had always planned to go to camera in November, because that was when we shot the first movie. So for continuity, we felt maybe that'd be a nice time to do it again. But what happened is that there was the writer's strike and the actors' strike in the summer. And so that delayed us huge. And of course, chapter 1 was a non-union shoot. Chapter 2 was a full-scale union shoot. And so we were dealing with SAG-AFTRA in the US, ACTRA here in Canada, Victoria Miro, Carol Coltman, who were in the first movie, who were non-union in the first movie. They're now union. I mean, they've since become union since Billy won. So unfortunately, we have to go through the union, and rightly so. We had no issues with it, but it was just sort of, it was a whole thing. There was nothing that was delayed other than it was possible we would have to delay the shoot from November had the strikes continued. Gotcha. But it didn't happen, thankfully.
Okay. All right, cool. So you wrapped filming when?
It took us 7 days. So we wrapped filming on November the 28th, 9th, something like that. Okay. Yeah, we started shooting on the 21st or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty quick, huh?
It's pretty quick. Well, it depends. I mean, it's a short film, right? So the script was about 22 pages long. And so you always try to, if you're shooting, again, it depends what's in the script and how much dialogue is in the script, how much action is in the script. But generally speaking, if you can try to nail down 2 to 3 pages a day, 5, sometimes you hear some filmmakers say 5. Yeah, that's possible depending on what's on the page. But so, we probably banged out about 3 or 4 pages a day, which is pretty good. It's very good, actually. It was a far more ambitious shoot this time around. So, but a feature film, right? I mean, ours is a short film. A feature film that is like 90 pages long, that might take you 4 to 6 weeks to shoot, right? And if it's a Marvel movie with tons of visual effects shots and rigs and stunts and things like that, I mean, that might take you 3 months to shoot. So it all depends. Taking a week to shoot a short film, though, is pretty standard. Although we were pretty ambitious. We probably, if we had a little bit more money, we probably would have scheduled a couple extra days.
Okay. So how much did you raise total? What was the full budget? here?
Well, right now on the campaign,
it's
the
still
total
going. Yeah.
Still going, yeah.
it's in demand. So that
Yeah.
just means that Indiegogo, if you reach your target goal, Indiegogo allows you to continue to raise money after your campaign ends, for the purposes of, people are late to the game. Sometimes, I want to get in on that. Is there any, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. When the campaign ended on July the 1st, 2023, we had raised a total of 144,799 Canadian dollars. For our American friends, let me see, USD to Canadian. Let's see what that is here. I'll just put 144,000. It's 105,250 US, 105,000 US dollars.
Okay.
And so now we're at, since then, our total now is 154,494 Canadian. So it's probably about 110,000 US.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah.
Nice.
That's quite an increase from chapter 1, correct?
Yeah. Chapter 1 was about 64,000 Canadian, about 47,000 US. And we essentially more than doubled our production budget. But there was a lot more going on in this film, and it was a much more expensive movie all around. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you guys, watch chapter 1, you want to donate to this, add to the campaign. It's still running right now. I know you can get your names in your name in the credits, and
you can, but only until September 9th. So if you want your name in the credits, obviously we have to have a cutoff point because I have everybody's name in there. You know what I mean? The campaign will remain open, I believe. I think, we're going to leave it open until after the movie comes out. But if you don't pick up perks that are picked up or bought after September 9th, you'll get whatever you buy. Your name just won't appear in the credits. And we have to, at some point, we got to put a lockdown.
Yeah.
There's going to be like 1,200 names. So you definitely are. Absolutely.
Yep.
For sure. Because you got in way before September 9th. For sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so is one of the perks still that you can get the Blu-ray?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can get
still okay. Yeah.
Yeah, if you go, I believe the name of the perk is Double Blue, Blue BLU, obviously for Blu-ray, and you can get both Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 on Blu-ray together. So
nice. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. And you can also just get Chapter 2 if you just want Chapter 2 because you already have Chapter 1 or whatever the case is. So
right.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we're excited for Chapter 2. The trailer just came out a few days ago.
It did.
So we want to watch that with you. And we'll have some questions for you. And
for sure, yeah. I'm here. I'm here to answer. Well, what I can answer.
I don't know if I want to ask too much.
I know. I don't want to.
Oh, don't worry. I wouldn't spoil anything for you anyway.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
So is the killer die in this one?
Yes, there is a killer in this one. Yes. That's not a spoiler. Yeah.
All right. Are you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ready, set, go.
Love the music.
There's this snowy landscape. Now, the purpose of this, to go from white to red, was to show the transition between the two films. That we are now entering a darker phase of the story. Grandma. And Griffin, of course, Black Christmas alumni. It was in the original film.
You were a good detective, and I know you share a history with this woman. But obsessing over some conspiracy theory isn't going to bring your sister back. It's Christmas.
In the original Black Christmas, Lynn played Claire. She's the one that gets the bag over her head. In this movie, she's playing her character's sister 50 years later.
This has been a cold case for 50 years. My sister Claire was murdered. For 3 days, she was up in that attic with a plastic bag over her head.
Why are you here, Nancy?
Because 6 months ago, something changed. Jess became more distant than usual. It was like she knew something, but she was too afraid to tell me. She wouldn't respond to my emails. She wouldn't take my calls. She wouldn't even answer the door. She's missing, Mike.
Nancy, she's not missing. She's dead.
Oh, man.
There it is. This actress is Lisa Kovac.
I know who you are. And I know what you and your sister have done.
And there it is.
So good.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
So we have a few. You were mentioning a few of the characters in there.
Yes.
So we have Claire's sister. So
That's
Claire,
right.
who was the woman who had the bag over her head in the original Black Christmas, very famous shot on the cover of the
Yeah.
For sure.
of the film, or one of the variations of the cover. And so now her sister is in this one. And
Correct.
was she in the original
No.
character? Okay. I
No.
didn't think so.
No. Now, but there's nothing to say that she didn't have a sister. And so
Sure, yeah.
when Bruce and I were writing the story, we thought, how great would it be to get Lynn in this? It's one of the most iconic images in all of horror. Again, despite what you may think of Black Christmas, because some people think it's a little slow, a little boring, it's a little dated.
Mhm.
It's 1974. I love it because
Yeah.
of the slow burn and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
It's very Hitchcockian. But I do understand that compared to today's contemporary horror movies, if you're used to the
Sure,
crazy shit, then yes, I do understand that. However, whatever your feelings are on the original film, it is one of the most influential horror films of all time. And that image of the girl with the bag and the rocking chair is one of the most iconic images in all of horror. I mean, it is the poster child for Black Christmas, no matter where you go, no matter what Blu-ray, DVD, VHS, it's somewhere. It may not be on the front, but it's somewhere on there, the original poster, all that kind of stuff. And so Lynn is a Canadian actress, and she's had a wonderful career. And we actually have the same voiceover agent, which I discovered a few years ago when I was talking to her, which is kind of cool. And so we wrote this part for her, but we thought, well, we'd love to get her involved. That if she would be interested, that helps to add credibility to the project as well. But how cool would it be for her? But we didn't know sort of what role, like what could it be? And I said, we agreed, well, maybe if she came back as Claire's sister, and because there's nothing in the original film that says she doesn't have one. And she's, Lynn is now in her 70s. And of course she was like 22 when the original movie came out. So there's enough of a gap that she does, when you look at her 22-year-old self and you look at how she looks now, you can see the young girl in her. Like you can see that it's, but there's such an age difference now that she can just, she doesn't have to play her twin sister. She just can play her sister. Right. Because siblings tend to look like each other anyway, or at least somewhat. And so, whereas if we were making a movie just a couple of years after the original Black Christmas, she would have had to have played her twin sister because she just would have looked identical. You know what I'm saying? And so some people have thought that Lynn is playing her twin sister, and we haven't said she isn't. So if people want to think that, that's totally fine. But that wasn't the motivation behind it. But yes, she is back. She returns to the franchise after 50 years. We initially had Olivia Hussey in there as well, who played the original final girl, Jess, in the original film. And she had a very sort of legendary career in her own right. But she had to back out because of health reasons in November of 2023. So we recast the role with Canadian actress Lisa Kovac. And Lisa Kovac is tremendous. She has how Olivia Hussey looks now in her elder age of 72 or whatever she is. Lisa Kovac has a very similar look. I don't know if they would have looked the same when they were in their 20s, but certainly now they look very similar, very classy, strong bone, cheeks, and looks very like the same kind of woman. And so Lisa, we had actually auditioned Lisa months before in the anticipating that Olivia may turn us down from the very beginning. And so we wanted to have somebody that we could turn to if that were, to potentially happen. It did happen, unfortunately. And we're just thankful that Lisa was available and not shooting another film. Because again, these are all professionals. I mean, these are not our they're our friends now, but they're not like we're asking our friend Bob down the street who's just gotten off his day shift. I mean, these are professional actors, professional crew. This is what they do. They work in Canada's film and TV industry. They've since gone on to do tons of other shit since we shot It's Me, Billy Chapter 2. So this is just what they do. And so we were just thankful that when we reached out to Lisa that she wasn't shooting something else. I mean, it's 12 days before we're going to camera. She's not waiting in the wings for us, right? Yeah. And so she got the call. She was taken back. She was pleased. She was thankful for the job opportunity, and she only had 12 days to read the script and kind of get honed in and locked in, and she did a great job. And I don't think, I mean, yes, I share the disappointment with Black Christmas fans, of course, when that camera peds up, and you see, Jess Bradford there. I mean, how amazing would it be if that was Olivia Hussey? Of course, we share that. But shit happens. And I think we've done the best we can to deliver on a performer that not only looks like Olivia Hussey, but does a great job at making you believe that it is. And I don't think you're going to be, other than the fact that you're going to know it isn't, I don't think you're going to be taken out of the movie because of that. And that's a very good thing. But we tried really hard, and sometimes these things happen. So, sure. But yeah. Anyway, I don't mean to ramble there, but yeah.
Well, it looks very solid. Something that I noticed right off the bat is this. The Chapter 1 kind of took place in one setting. This is going to have a couple of different environments, from what I can tell. It's like a police station, maybe, and then of course we got the house and maybe something else. How many different locations, if you want to tell us?
Well, it's just two. So it is just two. So yes, there is a police station scene, obviously, which you see in the trailer, between Detective Mike Henney, played by Glenn Michael Grant. He's a terrific actor, just great gravitas. I always think he kind of looks at a little bit like Idris Elba. He's kind of got a little bit of that vibe to him, and he's a big guy too. Like Glenn Mike, he's jacked. He's I wouldn't want to get in his way. He's jacked. But such a sweetheart of a man. Really, really talented. And the dynamic between Glenn and Lynn, or Nancy and Mike, is just terrific. So yes, there is the police station scene, and then the rest is at the house. And so Victoria Miro is back as Sam. She's just, I love that girl to death. She's just an absolute hoot, so talented. And she gets put through the ringer here, in this one. She's got to fight back. I mean, that's what it's all about, and Caro Coltman returns as Agnes. Brian Charles Peter returns as Billy. And Sean Sullivan, who is Lynn Griffin's real life husband, who's also an actor. He's been in Umbrella Academy and just a ton of stuff. And so he has a role in this. He's in the trailer as well. You see him briefly in one shot. So he's in the movie as well, playing Sam's dad. Because in chapter one, there's a line that Malika, who's playing it, Justine, says, "What time's your dad going to be here tomorrow?" And Sam says, "Not till 2." Well, this picks up immediately where the first one left off. So it's like a Halloween 1, Halloween 2 kind of thing. Yeah. So we just pick up immediately. We go right back to that basement, and we pick up right there, and then we continue moving on. So Dad's got to show up, at some point, right? Yeah. So, and Sean, we had reached out to him and said, "Hey, that'd be kind of fun. Lynn's got to come up to the house anyway. Do you want to come up and play this little role? It's not a huge role, but certainly he was like, yeah, absolutely, I'll do it. So so that's great too. So yeah, so it's and the house is just an amazing place to shoot. And it's chapter 2 is a darker film, darker thematically, tonally.
Really?
But
Darker?
Darker. Well, just in
Last
terms
one
of
was pretty dark.
it was pretty dark. It was pretty dark. This is, I think you'll see what I mean when you begin to watch it. It feels maybe a tad more. It's not that the first one isn't dark, but this feels like we've almost gone down a couple more steps. Do you know what I mean? In tone, in feel. Because now, like, this really is the last half of the second act and the third act of the movie. So, like, the first chapter, when you watch it, to me, Billy, the first chapter is like the first act, right? It's the setup and a little bit of that second act, and then it just stops, right? And so now this is like the end of that second act, and now the third act. So things are starting to ramp up. Things are starting to get darker. Things are, there's things happening now, and so my advice has always been the best way to enjoy. You can watch chapter 1 on its own, and it can play as its own movie. There's a cliffhanger, and that might rub some people the wrong way, but it does play well as a completed piece. Chapter 2, on the other hand, does not, because chapter 2 is very much, nothing in the movie makes sense unless you've seen chapter 1. Right.
True.
So, so I always say to people that before you watch chapter 2, which releases for free on YouTube on October 11th, if you haven't watched chapter 1 at all, make sure you watch it. And even if you haven't watched it in a couple of years, watch it and then go right into chapter 2. And you're going to get that nice 1-2 punch, like a Halloween 1, Halloween 2 kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? You're really going to feel it then. And I think that's the best way to watch it. So, yeah.
I know you guys are selling the hard copies of both chapter 1 and chapter 2 or on Indiegogo. Have you thought of splicing them together as like one like full movie kind of?
We have, yeah. So one of the things we want to do, and again, we're just trying to get through the chapter 2 that will release on October 11th as its own thing. But what we'd like to do is we would like to put the two films together and release that into festivals. And sort of kind of play the festival circuit and do that. And then, of course, eventually, put it online as well as, like, I don't know, the Christmas cut or the ultimate Billy cut or something like that. Right. And what we'd have to do as well is we'd create a new project file. We'd put both timelines of both movies into the project file. We'd watch it to see how it played as is, but there may be some adjusting we may have to do for this special edit, this special cut. Like, maybe the police station scene's got to come earlier in this feature length version. Do you know what I mean? Maybe, there's certain things we may have to juggle around for pacing, because now you're watching it sort of as its own kind of one thing, as opposed to two separate chapters. And so that's something we have to make sure that, and maybe not. Maybe we'll just put them in and we'll watch and go, oh, this works great. This works great as is. Maybe it will. I don't know. But that is definitely something we want to do. And maybe play the festival circuit a little bit and just kind of, the 50th anniversary will be over by that point, but it doesn't matter. We'll just see how it does and see if there's any interest. But so yes, Joel, that definitely is something we would like to do. We're just at the moment focusing on getting chapter 2 out on its own first. Because obviously that's the most important, but we'll probably do it.
Okay. So, with film festivals, can you put in these types of films into film festivals, like fan films and non-for-profit and all that?
You can. So there are festivals that will run them. There are festivals that won't run them. But there are festivals that will. There's a lot of them that will, actually, believe it or not. As long as like, again, in terms of fan films, so your viewers know. So we are allowed to make money. No, we're not. We are allowed to raise money, is what I'm trying to say. We are allowed to raise money to make the movie, but we are not allowed to make money from the movie. So we can't seek distribution. We can't try to get it on Netflix or Prime or Hulu or something like that. We can't take any, major cash prizes at festivals or something like that.
Okay.
If there's a trophy we win or something, great. But if the cash, if it's a cash prize of like $10,000 to the winner, we can't accept that. Unless we were to accept it and then we donate it to charity, or we donate it to filling out, the rest of the perks, or something like that. But we can't take that and pocket it as a thing for us, because we as the producers are not allowed to do that, because we do not own the intellectual property. So we can't make money from that. So we can raise the money, to pay the actors and the crew and to get the production insurance and the locations and craft services and equipment and cameras and truck rentals and air and hotel and flights and, all that stuff. But we as producers are not allowed to make anything from it. So, so with festivals, we just look for festivals, and there's a lot of them. There's some good horror ones, Blood in the Snow. I think even Toronto After Dark one, which is a big one. I think they're okay with it. Like the large festivals, like maybe like TIFF or, South by Southwest, that's where you kind of really have to go through the fine print and go, are they okay with this stuff? Let me see here. Because that's where it might be able to get a bit tricky, but maybe they would be, I don't know. But there are big reputable horror festivals, film festivals that you would know, like, oh yeah, I've heard of that are definitely okay with it. So just as long as we don't make money from it, we're not profiting off of it, and nobody's there wanting to take our film and distribute it, then it has to be online for free for everybody to enjoy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Yeah. Which is another reason. Sorry. Go ahead.
So we're kind of connected with a film festival here in Sacramento.
Great.
But we hadn't seen any fan films, so I was like, how does that work? Is that okay? So yeah, that's awesome. I'd love to see it there. It's Sacktown Movie Buffs Film Festival.
Amazing. Well, hey, when we're ready, we'll definitely look into that. We're on, I think it's Film Freeway, I think is the name of the site.
That's what.
And where you submit, your film. So we are on there, myself and Bruce, we are on there. And because we did submit chapter 1 to some festivals, because again, chapter 1 can play on its own.
Yeah.
And we did submit that to festivals, and it did, I think, like 2 or 3 festivals. We not a lot, but it did well. And which was cool. But yeah, it's something that we definitely want to do for sure. And hopefully we'll be able to do it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So for chapter 1, we got some kills in there with Billy. For chapter 2, can we, is there ramped up violence, or is it about the same? What,
I wouldn't say
about that.
So I would say there isn't. I'll just say this. So one of our goals for these movies is we want, if you've watched the original Black Christmas and you've watched It's Me, Billy, one of the things that should be apparent if you're astute and you're paying attention is that our film feels, and this is intentional on our part, feels like it lives and breathes in that universe.
Yeah.
So it's not like Billy chapter 1 is, Friday the 13th or Terrifier, right? Where there's blood and guts all over the place. And it's like, what is this? This isn't even the same genre. It was very important to us that it felt like that we leaned more into the psychological, more into the theater of the mind, more into the dark hallways and, exactly all the, the crevices and, all that kind of stuff. Because that really was the original film. That's more of that Hitchcock old school kind of horror that I absolutely adore and love, that you do still see today, but certainly not as much. And so chapter 2, I would say it still follows that trend. Now I will say that I don't want to set unrealistic expectations, but I'll say that there's a little more going on. There's a little more going on, but it's not like we've jumped the shark. Like all of a sudden there's people getting thrown through windows and cars exploding and blood spurting everywhere. I mean, it would be a completely different genre. It's still, it's the same night. It still has to feel like it lives and breathes in that world of chapter 1. It's the exact same night, 5 minutes later. Right. Yeah. So it's very important that although we went darker, in tone and theme. You're going to feel like, the music, the score and everything. When you watch it, you're going to go, oh yeah, this feels more ominous. You know what I mean? Like Sam, what's happening to Sam? What's going on? They're trapped. How are they going to get out? Like there's hopelessness, all that stuff is there, but we haven't turned it into a Friday the 13th movie or Terrifier because it's still got to be in its lane. And that was important to us for sure. So I'll just say
I
that.
I was gonna ask about the score, because that was a real standout for Black Christmas, but also you guys really took very similar sounds and built the atmosphere around the score with chapter 1. So that was probably one of my favorite things about it, because it really brought me back to that original film.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's like sounds. I know last time we talked with you and you were like, it's not necessarily a score, it's like a soundscape.
Yes, well, chapter 1 definitely is more soundscape. Chapter 2, there is definitely a score. There is you will notice that thematically. You'll notice some. Yeah, you will notice that. I'll just say that you'll notice that it has more of a score than say the first chapter did. Again, by design, intentional, but it still has all those sounds from chapter 1 as well. And all those sort of that soundscape, that creepiness. And when I say score, I don't mean like Star Wars, Indiana Jones. It's still it's still in the world of horror or Halloween theme. I don't mean that. It's still soundscapey. But it's there for sure. But I do all the sound on both films right here in my home studio. I'm set up to do it. And so I've been mixing and mastering and tweaking and fine tuning. There's about, I think, 17 layers of audio on chapter 2. So your first 2 or 3 tracks are all dialogue, and then you start getting into all the different layers of sound, and whether that's doors closing, doors opening, knocking, breathing, axes being picked up, shing, all those little things, and all that stuff is just I enjoy doing that, which is why I volunteered to. I know how to do it, which is so I can save money that way, and I volunteered to do it, and Bruce is you go ahead and do that. That's just it's too monotonous for him. It's too monotonous for him. But I enjoy doing it. I enjoy watching the scene come to life. When you begin to build all the sound, you take the sound that you're fully that your boom operator picked up on set, of course, and you add it with all the sound that you're adding, and it's just you create a whole world. And the scene just comes to life. It just pops, and then of course it goes to our color department, and Greg Bennett starts working on the color grading and, and all that. And it's just, you saw the trailer. It's just magnificent. And so, so we're very happy with how things are looking and sounding.
Ever since you told us a few years ago about the sound, and you're like, I watch other movies and then like, oh, I have that sound of that door opening. Like, oh, it has happened. I've played with that. Now when I watch movies, I'm like, oh, interesting. They use that sound for the door. I wonder if that's how the door actually sounds.
It could be, but it may not be. Like nowadays, especially in the digital age, right? What Foley artists and what sound engineers now, they just have it's just a library. They have a library of tons and tons. They might have a library of 463 doors opening and closing, right? All different wooden doors, metal doors, screen doors, fat doors, skinny doors, like whatever, doors to mansions, doors to apartments, doors to stairwells, doors, whatever it is. There's so many now that the boom operator will pick up those things on set because it's better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. But sound engineers now just have, I have a library of over 10,000 sound effects.
Wow.
Of just all different kinds of things, right? Not 10,000 doors opening, but all different kinds of things. And if there isn't a sound that I have, or it's not quite the right sound, and it quite isn't carrying the right punch from the set, was captured on set, then I will go and look for it. I'll go to Audio Jungle, or I'll go to Pond 5, or one of these stock sites, and I'll find it and I'll purchase it and I'll buy it, so I have the license to use it, and then I'll pop it in. And so that's why when you're watching these movies or television commercials or TV shows, I guess you have to be familiar with the sound effects. But for me, there are times where I'll be like, I have that exact door opening. Like I can just tell. I know immediately that was not captured on set. You know,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be. You know what I mean? Like as long as it's totally believable, and the average person who doesn't deal with sound is never, which is most people, is never going to know. It's only the guys like me and gals, guys and gals like me, who are working with sound all the time, you know, who can pick up on that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I enjoy it. I love it to bring it to life. You know, I mean, it's like that scene in chapter 1, the porch scene, when you have Emma and Sam on the porch having that intimate, you know, conversation. If I was to remove all the layers of sound that we have there, you'd go, oh my God, it sounds so flat. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't, you know what I mean? But you know, everything from the crow in the distance to just the ambient air, to the water dripping, to the snow melting, to the wind lightly, like it's just layers and layers and then you add their audio on top of that, and then little other, you know, all that stuff. You take that all the way, and it's incredible how different and plain it sounds. You know,
That's really cool because sound can make a huge difference with a movie. Huge. Our son is kind of getting into film. He's in high school right now, but he does, you know, he's messing around with stuff, and that'll be a good thing to talk to him about.
Sound
to make sure to focus
even with
on,
you. Even with YouTube videos, you know, people are more likely to watch a video with crappy video, but great sound, than great video and crappy sound. Sound is so important. It's so important.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially if it's like a podcast or something, you can just listen to it, right? You don't even have to watch it. Sometimes that's what I do.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, I wanted to talk about a couple of other things. Did you guys have any other questions for Dave about chapter 2?
No?
October 11th, just in case that was
when
missed.
it comes out.
I'm excited to watch chapter 2 and then Terrifier 3. I'm gonna do that like same day.
I know. We're gonna get steamrolled by Terrifier 3. Speaking of, I just see the Terrifier shirt on your there.
We both got them.
So that's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. So we were first, just saying we were first. But we chose October 11th. Now, the reason why, for your viewers and your listeners, the reason why we chose October 11th, because to the average movie fan, especially if you're from the States, may be like, why would you release this on October 11th when you can release it on December 11th or something like that? I mean, it's Christmas. Now, it makes sense why Terrifier is doing it. For us, the reason is because although Black Christmas was first released in the US December 20th or 23rd or something like that, 1974, technically Black Christmas, its premiere, like the very first time it was seen anywhere, was here in Toronto, which makes sense, on Friday, October 11th, 1974. And that's so cool. That's when it was first released. And so we looked at each other, we said, well, we have to release it that day. And this is like over a year ago. We have to. And now they're going to be feeling to think, why are they Halloween? And it's like, well, no, it's because of this, and that's why. And it's, again, it's part of the romanticism of it. You know what I mean? The symbolic nature of it. And
it's on. I'm sorry.
Sorry?
I was going to say, and it's on its 50th anniversary. Like,
that's right.
The year
exactly.
So.
And it's to the day. Like, it's not like October 11th this year is a Tuesday or something, right? It is Friday, October 11th, 1974, Friday, October 11th, 2024. I mean, it's amazing. We've got to do that. We've got to do that. There's going to be some people that will be like, I don't get it, but we've got to do it. And it actually was released the same day the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre was released October 11th, 1974. Yeah. So if anybody's doing a Texas Chainsaw fan film out there you go. 50 years this year. Gotta release it that day.
Gotta get it out there real quick.
But but when Terrifier moved their date, we thought, because obviously, I mean, we're not a theatrically released movie, and Terrifier is so big, and it's getting all this momentum. But hey, you can watch. There's no reason why you can't watch two movies that day or that weekend, and ours is free. Just saying. Just saying. No, I think it's awesome though.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's the Christmas film that you're doing, and it looks like Terrifier 3 is Christmas
Also.
as well.
It is.
So
It
we're
is,
gonna get
yeah.
Christmas on October 11th for
That's it.
multiple horror films.
That's it. Yep.
I did have a quick question about so are the people that went on the Indiegogo and purchased the Blu-rays, are they getting that before the 11th or after?
No. It'd be after the 11th. The
After,
first
okay.
place that the movie has to be seen is its intended medium. And
Oh,
so it will be after. We are slowly but surely starting to work on the perks now. Once the movie is out too, that's when there's a heavy shift towards them. But we've already been in contact with our vendors. I've been reaching out to people in terms of McRae Live, my own YouTube show, because some people, picked up that perk. So I've already reached out to everybody that picked up that perk. Starting the process of wanting to schedule people to come on the show. That's a digital perk that I can fill without having to ship anything. And then of course the t-shirts and the hoodies and the Blu-rays, and Bruce right now is working on the BTS. He's working on the BTS for the Blu-ray, which is great.
Nice.
And then we'll have to do a director's commentary as well. So that can go on the Blu-ray, just like chapter 1. We're just going to do it exactly like chapter 1, the movie, the BTS featurette, the director's commentary, and then trailers. I think it's simple. It's perfect. You know what I mean? But of course the movie has to be done for that. And so hopefully, if not by the end of this year, certainly like early next year is our plan to start getting those out. I know it takes a long time, and we appreciate everybody's patience. We're just like a 2-man team here. So we are doing the best we can. We always keep people updated, because one of the worst things in the world is when you donate money and then you never hear back. You know what I mean? So we like to keep people in the loop and like to let people know what's going on. We haven't forgotten about you. We definitely know. It is absolutely top of mind. It's a process. It's a process, and obviously we got to get the movie done too, to be able to get that up. And then there's that heavy shift to, all right, great, okay, order those t-shirts, order those hoodies. Let's get these things out. I do have for those that ordered Lynn Griffin Christmas ornaments.
Nice.
So these are Christmas ornaments that Lynn makes every year. Snow globe. She signs them as well. So
cool.
Oh, very cool.
That's awesome.
that's her in the rocking chair
Oh, that's
I love it.
awesome.
in the original film.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
And then
cool.
so she makes the snow globes, and she also makes the Christmas ornaments as well. So for your viewers who may have ordered one of these, they're here. Haven't been shipped yet,
there it
but they're
is.
here. They're here. They're coming.
That's
They're
very
coming.
cool.
They're coming.
That's awesome.
So
That's
yeah,
really cool.
it's a process. It's a
Yeah,
process. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's not fully complete yet, from what I'm hearing.
The film
you guys have
is
put some final touches on it, or?
Yes. So the film is what we call picture locked. So that simply means that we're not going to be, not that we couldn't, but generally speaking, what picture lock is supposed to mean, not that there's not ever any tinkering that goes on, even at the Hollywood level. But picture lock is we're not going to be editing anymore. So we're not going to be adding another scene, taking away another scene, moving this. It's locked. The picture is now locked. This is it. And then it goes to the sound department and the color grading department and all that. And that's where we are now. We're in the color grading now. Because for the trailer, that's a separate project file that just has the trailer in it. So that project file, as the trailer goes to the color department, they color that, right? So, and then it's back to me, and we render out the trailer. So the movie is being color graded as we speak, but it's going to look like it does in the trailer. Now they just have to go in and do it, and that's a process as well. So it's and of course I'm doing all the sound and the mixing and the fine tuning and the tweaking and the mastering and the levels and making sure everything's up to par and on point. So so far so good.
Okay. Very cool. All right. So we're definitely excited for chapter 2, October 11th. But before we let you go, I have a couple of questions. So this is not It's Me Billy related.
That's okay.
What is because I know you haven't been a big fan of like modern horror. I know that you've talked about there's not too many that are really grabbing me. So what is one, if you could pick one that you have enjoyed more modern last few years?
So when I say that a lot of modern horror doesn't grab me, I think it's because, there's a formula, and a lot of the stuff that I see just feels and looks a little pedestrian to me. And so, but I will say, without going off on a huge tangent, I will give you a few movies that I do love. I think it was 2016 or 2017, The Ritual. It was on Netflix. That's about those 4 or 5 backpackers that go into the woods, and I thought that was tremendous. Now, keep in mind for your viewership, it's not that I don't have a place in my heart for slashers. I do, but I love the psychological, theater of the mind, mood, atmosphere. When I watched The Ritual, and it was one of those movies that I just read the blurb on Netflix, I'd never heard of it. I'm like, oh, let's watch this. I said, I watched it. I was blown away. I was like, this is exactly how I would make this movie. Like the layers, the cinematic language, the symbolism, terrific performances. They didn't show, the monster too soon, right? They dangled it. They brought you in, they lured you in. Like, I love things like that. The movie didn't peak in the first, 10 minutes. And it was just full of rich mood and again, terrific performances, and the trauma and the guilt that one guy felt, and the, and the dreams he was having, and how it affected his subconscious. Like, I love that. And again, it's not that I don't have a place in my heart for a dumb slasher movie, but that's what I want to make, are movies like that. Because I just think they're just so damn cool and so awesome. And but so there's that was one for sure. But you know what? I'll choose something that maybe is a little more mainstream. 2 movies that really did hit me, and I still think they're 2 of the best mainstream studio released contemporary modern horror movies of the last 25 years, and that's the first Insidious and the first The Conjuring, both directed by James Wan. I think as far as studio released horror movies go, that first not that the second one's not good, but that first Conjuring and the very first Insidious, I thought were terrific. And they, especially the first Insidious, leaned very much into that, right? You're not, they build. It's like a roller coaster going up like this, you know what I mean? And so, and that movie Insidious was made for, like, I think 1.5 million. I mean, it was so cheap. And I think those 2 are some of the best of the last 25 years. I love The Others from 2001, a little older now. Just adore that film. Terrific atmosphere. So just movies like that. Like, I really love those kinds of films. The House of the Devil, I thought, was very good. There's others out there too. Oh, there's one that I absolutely loved that I don't think it gets talked about enough. I think maybe in the States it's just called Ghostland, but here in Canada, I believe it was released under Incident in a Ghostland.
Yes, I did.
Jeez, it's fantastic.
I think it's still.
Sorry.
So I was going to say, I think in the US it is Incident in the Ghostland.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it is. I thought, again, it was one of those movies. It's on Netflix. I think it's also a French, Canadian, US production. I think Canada's in there somewhere, which is great. But anyway, but it was one of those movies where I read the blurb, right? Very much like The Ritual. I was like, the Netflix blurb they don't give you that much. And I was like, well, this looks a little interesting. So I hit play, and I won't give it away, but if you've seen it, you know the twist. Yeah. And my mouth hit the floor. I didn't see it coming. I was like, oh, that's so good. Again, because of the psychological ramifications and what it means. It's properly motivated. It doesn't feel shoehorned in. It just made me go, oh, of course. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's so sad. Oh, fuck, that's so sad, but that's so good. I adored it. And it doesn't have a great Rotten Tomatoes rating or anything like that, but I thought it was really good. Because again, I went in with no expectations. I never heard
the story. The way the story is told is very unique compared to other films.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the
really got me.
Yeah. It was so good, and I just I bought, well, again, I won't say it, but you know how the thing, I bought it hook, line and sinker. I thought what was happening was happening, and you know, and then you realize it's not, and you're like, oh my God, that's incredible. You know, like again, those kinds of movies, I'm like, I would love to make, you know, I'd be so happy. I wouldn't care if it had 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'd be like, fucking amazing, man. Rocks.
Whatever.
You know, oh yeah, it's so good. I love, that's what gets me jazzed. It's not, again, it's not that I can't enjoy a good slasher. But, and maybe it's because I'm 45 and I'm older now, I don't know, but I really do appreciate those kinds of horror movies now. You know, even a movie that's more like a thriller, Prisoners with Jake Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman, I thought was tremendous, a terrific thriller. You know, great mood, great atmosphere. So yeah, those are some anyway.
Okay. And so we've got the Halloween TV series eventually coming.
Supposedly, yeah.
Yeah. What, I mean, I know we could probably do a full episode, and I'm sure you have. But what are your thoughts on that? Do you think Halloween can fit as a series? That's where I'm kind of like, I don't see how you can make a series out of it. But
yeah,
what do you think?
I think you can, but I'm at a point with the Halloween franchise, and I say this as a fan. I don't say it because I'm not a fan, and maybe my mind will change once we get to the 50th anniversary in 4 years. But as of right now, and this has nothing to do with the divisiveness of Halloween Ends or the David Gordon Green trilogy. This is just how I feel. Because I didn't dislike Halloween Ends as much as a lot of people did. I didn't like it, because there's reasons for it, but I don't think it's a catastrophic dumpster fire. But I will say that I'm okay as a Halloween fan. I'm content. I have the good movies, the bad movies, the ugly movies. I've got like, I don't know what else we can do with this character. Like, are we just like, do fans just really want them to reboot it again? So what does that mean to fans? Okay, we're going to watch little Michael Myers at 6 years old kill his older sister. He's going to go away for 15 years. We're just going to watch that again? Hey, listen, I'll be there in line because I'm a Halloween fan. But I just think I could not, at this moment in my life, I could not care less if they made another Michael Myers movie ever again. And to some people that might feel harsh, and it's not because I don't love Michael Myers and Halloween. It's because I'm okay. I'm full. It's like having a beautiful dinner and you're full. Do you want some dessert? Do you want coffee? No, I'm good. I feel good. I feel good. I'm happy. I got the good ones. I don't know what else you can do. So they will reboot it. They will do it. They don't care what I think. But I when it comes to the Halloween series, with Michael Myers, like, what are they going to do? A Loomis trilogy, like a Loomis story? That's going to demystify Myers. I don't know what you do. It's too bad you can't just leave it, and just leave it. And maybe they got, because they haven't made enough. But it's one of those things where, like, it's not that you can't tell the Halloween story again. But I think to reboot it now, it's so soon, like maybe in 2040 or 2035 or, let it marinate and then it feels new again. There's a whole new audience, maybe even your kids. Do you know what I mean? Let it, don't do it now, because it's going to be the same audience, and I just feel like, why am I watching this again? Or what you do, and this is a risk, but you do a reimagining, and you do what Tony Michael, my co-host of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit, what we had talked about, which is and this wouldn't necessarily go over with fans, but you do a reimagine, and you could do this as a series actually. Whereas Dr. Loomis isn't a doctor; it takes place in the 50s. It's black and white film noir. Loomis is a police detective from Chicago. And he can wear the trench coat and the fedora and everything. And you make Judith and Michael in and around the same age, so they can be in high school together. Weird things begin to happen in around town. People go missing. There's murders and stuff. Halloween is approaching. It's a small town that is just strapped with, they just don't have the resources. So they bring in this big shot detective from Chicago. He comes in, he starts investigating. You can make it dark and scary and eerie. it's Halloween, but it's not the same thing. Like literally the same. And some people aren't going to like that. But I'm not talking about removing the DNA of Halloween, but just kind of imagining it a little bit different. And if it's really good and the story's really good and the characters are great and the performances are great, nobody's going to care. Everybody's going to be so dialed in and locked in, they're not going to care because winning solves everything. It's like sports. Movie fans are like sports fans. It's true. Your team loses 10 games in a row or 8 games in a row. They're the biggest pile of shit you've ever seen. Fire the coach, fire the GM, get rid of that bum. You got it. They win. They lose 8. Suddenly they win 3 in a row. Just 3 in a row. They're amazing. I knew it. This is great. They're on the right track. This is going to happen. It happens all the time. And movie fans are exactly like that. And it says, crap, and Halloween ends with a piece of crap. You deliver a really good Halloween series. Halloween's amazing. It's amazing. I knew it was amazing. I mean, it's just, that's what happens. It's just winning solves everything. So if they can deliver a terrific story with great characters, something we can glom onto, it's not going to matter that it's a reimagining because we're going to be so dialed in and locked in and compelled by this great story and it's eerie and it's like, this is a neat take on Halloween. This is cool. You know, like, wow, you know, and it's done with respect. And you can feel the love and respect and the homage within the storytelling and the craftsmanship. And it doesn't feel like anything shoehorned in or it feels, you know what I mean? Like beyond that, I don't know what you do.
That'd be good for like the same audience, right? You're talking about like, you know,
yes,
it would be the same audience if you do it now. Like give this audience that you already have something different.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So what do we need to do to get you to make a fan favorite?
That's actually what I was thinking.
I definitely wouldn't make a fan film on it. Trancas International is very strict with their fan films. And I now, myself and Bruce now, whether we continue to make movies together, which obviously we will, but we also will direct and produce our own solo projects. We want to now move on to original work where we can get paid to make the movie. We can seek distribution and make money from it because the way we make our we're making professional films. And so the amount of work that goes into it, we're dealing with professional actors and crew and unions and guilds. And I mean, you know what I mean? We can't continue to work like that for free.
Right.
Like it's way too much work. It's just way too much work. We did it for this because it was a passion project. But I would never be like, I'm just going to continue to make fan films my whole life at this level. No, it ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. Yeah. So, but if whoever's got the rights, Miramax, if they ever wanted me to make a Halloween something, I'd be more than happy to do it. I doubt they're going to call. I don't have enough of a portfolio yet, but certainly it's a phone call that I would take.
But your story on like your idea of where it could have gone, and even this other reimagining idea, that's. It's
pretty cool, isn't it?
What
pretty cool. Like, imagine that. And now the whole thing is a risk, but the studio may be like, black and white. I don't know. I think we should make it color. I could see that. I could see having to make it color because they're not going to go for black and white. But the vision was black and white, very film noir, you know, and it's a black and white show. And I could see that being an issue. But I could see the whole thing being an issue, but that in particular being an issue. But I just imagine this, like imagine the lighting and, you know, this detective and what's great, it's set in the 50s. So it's set, say, like 1955, 1956, you know, that typical Americana, you know, it's before the 60s, before the sexual revolution, before the loss of innocence. You know, it's very still conservative, the nuclear family, Leave It to Beaver, everybody's having dinner, you know, it's before the Beatles. You know what I'm saying? It's before Vietnam. It's before Woodstock. It's before all that. And so there is this innocence. There's this taboo, innocent sort of nature to the period as well, right? You know what I mean? It's before Manson, before all that. And so, you know, and then of course the 70s just the whole sex thing just, you know, exponentially grew and, you know, in that decade, excuse me. So I think the 50s would be a great time for a movie like that because it's the horrific nature of these murders set against the backdrop of the Americana innocence. Do you know what I mean? Of the 50s, right? You know, and so it would just be so great. You know what I mean? But Oh well.
Yeah, any horror film or slasher, whatever in the 50s, the contrast there, as long as you can build the idea of the innocence in the 50s, and
That's right.
you can portray that, but then you throw in this serial killer or whatever, then whether it be Michael Myers or anybody, it could be an original film.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. No, you're to your point. Yeah, it doesn't have to be Myers. It could be some. It could be something completely original.
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely pumped to see an original from you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are excited for chapter 2. We will have to have you back on maybe later on after it's out or something like that.
Absolutely, for sure.
We can actually talk about the real stuff in the film.
Yes.
With you. I'd love to be able to talk to you about certain scenes and all that.
For sure.
So yeah, but for now, guys, go to the Indiegogo, contribute, watch chapter 1 if you haven't, watch Black Christmas 1974 if you haven't, and get ready for October 11th because It's Me Billy chapter 2 is coming out, and it will complete the sequel to the original film.
It will. Well, you kind of have sort of this unofficial trilogy. You got the original film, Billy 1 and Billy 2. And I encourage people to watch all 3 because then you get this nice, big, complete story,
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, that's it.
All right. This has been Scare Talk.
Well, thank you for having me on Scare Talk. I really appreciate it. And I will I'm looking forward to coming on again soon.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yep.
All right, see you guys.
See ya.
See ya.